Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for my top 10 comic books of the week. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin Robbie Billups. This is my top 10 comic books of the week, not a spec list, just a list of my favorite books from this week. But before we get into that, I gotta give a big shout out to HC. HC's been supporting us over at patreon.com/PCP for a good bit now. HC, we really do appreciate it. You mean a lot. You've done a lot for us, and don't think it doesn't go noticed or that it doesn't go appreciated. Station. Now into the top 10. At number 10, True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys, National Anthem. Number 3, from Dark Horse Comics. So I love, adore, and absolutely cherish the original True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys. Now this is a prequel called National Anthem, and I was a bit bummed out that even though we have Gerard Way and Sean Simon returning as the writers, we didn't have Becky Cloonan on board as the artist for this prequel series, which is a prequel to the book that's based on the My Chemical Romance album, Danger Days. I love that crossover mass media concept type stuff. I just eat it up. Anyway, all my fears completely washed away because Leonardo Romero is doing some of the best work of his career, and so is colorist Jordi Belair. The artwork in this book absolutely shines. It's beautiful. It's different. It pops off the page. It definitely has this very firm root into pop art and also a firm footing into punk rock. This book feels rock and roll, wild, rambunctious, silly, youthful, fun. And that's what it is. It's a wild, wacky, kooky, crazy, fun ride that's maybe a bit challenging for some, but it's all there. It's just a wild ride, and I have so much fun with it. At number 9, Seven Secrets, number 5, from Boom Studios. Seven Secrets number 5 does an amazing job of cranking up the action to 11, as well as raising the stakes on the actual story. The basic concept of Seven Secrets, which is written by Tom Taylor, is about these 7 universal secrets that are so dangerous they can't be allowed out into the public's hands or into the wrong hands. And so these 7 secrets have been guarded by this clan, this organization, if you will, for centuries, eons, who knows, right? And of course there are all these other factions trying to get those secrets, and it leads all up into issue number 5. Now this book has been really great as far as being action-packed and having a nice flow because of that. It also has been amazing at building up these characters and this concept. It's something Tom Taylor does really well. Danielle Di Niculio does a fantastic job with this manga-inspired, fast and frantic type style. I love the angular panel styles and composition. It's fantastic. I'm loving it. And issue number 5 really cranks everything up, and I thought they just did a hell of a job. At number 7, Marauders, number 16, from Marvel Comics. Yo, Jerry Duggan's done it again. Marauders, oh my goodness, this was such a refreshing issue. After the excessiveness of Ten of Swords, it feels like it's been forever since we've gotten to the actual main flow and gist of each individual X title. Marauders being one of my favorites. Well, everything that Duggan has been building up to, all the Hellfire Club intrigue, everything going on with Sebastian and Emma and Kate, it all comes to a head and we get a very satisfying, let's just say, revenge type comic here that really took me by surprise, but at the same time really delivered on a lot of what I was expecting. I loved Marauders number 16. This was a great issue, and it was, like I said, incredibly refreshing after the excessiveness of Ten of Swords. At number 7, Batman Black and White, number 1, from DC Comics. Batman Black and White has some big shoes to fill. Now, there have been several versions of Batman Black and White miniseries and short stories, usually top-tier creators doing short Batman stories, all in black and white artwork. And typically, the artwork is done in an incredibly striking and innovative type way. So, now we got round 3, 4, 5, who knows what it is, but this Batman Black and White did not let down whatsoever. There's a J.H. Williams story in here with absolutely the most beautiful double-page spreads I've seen in comic books since J.H. Williams did his last comic book. You got Paul Dini coming back to the character of Batman and doing a really fun and great story with Andy Kubert bringing back the Ninja Batmans. You got some really great stuff in here. Tradd Moore doing a story along with James Tynion IV. All in all, some real fun stories. Nothing that super blows you away as just far as the story concept, but the artwork is some of the best artwork in recent years from most of these artists. And then you got great stuff from, like I said, Tradd Moore, oh my goodness, and the J.H. Williams, worth the price of admission alone. Loved it. At number 6, Sword, number 1 for Marvel Comics. So Al Ewing and Valerio Schiti are relaunching Sword as a comic book, a force in the Marvel Universe, but more so now connected to the X Universe. So this kind of spins out of some of the Ten of Swords revelations about the space station. It was abandoned, but this brings back Abigail Brand, and I really liked it. It's written by Al Ewing, so you expect a little bit of high concept cosmic craziness, and it really just lets it all out towards the end of this book. It got wild. It had a great ending, but all the build-up to that ending was exceptional. There's a random cast of characters, including a character I have loved ever since I had that Toy Biz figure from the 90s. Still got to get one of those. You got a little bit of Magneto in there. You got some Cable thrown in, and some other great X-Men characters we haven't seen in a while, and tied into a really cool gist of the X-Men now operate Sword, and it's basically Krakoa extending their influence out into the galaxy. And I'm really down for that. And then when we get to that crazy cosmic stuff at the end, I'm even more down for that. I loved this book, and I was rather shocked and surprised that I did. At number 5, Giga, number 2 from Vault Comics. Giga number 2 basically takes what was established in issue number 1 and continues building that out. The way that writer Alex Packnadell is able to world build while not making it seem like he's just beating us over the head with bits of information and facts about this world, because it's a complex world, and the politics involved in the different factions of this world, and learning all that just simply through actions of the characters, simply through sly remarks from one to another character, things like that, as well as using actual scripture from the fictional scripture in the world of Giga, and using that to illuminate a little bit, I think, about the subtext and even some character motivations. Giga is something monumentally awesome, in my opinion. John Lee's artwork is great. It's expressive when the characters need to be dramatic and when they have to act, but it's also got this very dense, intricate detail to it as well, and the way that the world as well as the mecha involved. The basic premise of Giga, in case you didn't know, is there's this giant race of robots. They're fighting this long time war, lasted for millennia. The war's over. The robots just sit down, chill, and boom. And now humanity lives in the robots and even worships them, and some actually disdain them and actively organize against them. And what happens when one of these gods is murdered? A really great book with a lot of intrigue, but it's the world building, it's the concept, it's the characters and the subtext that pours through that makes this book a must-read. Artwork is fire. Roche's coloring is fantastic. Aditya Bidikar, the best letterer in the biz today. This book is a must-read. At number 4, Lonely Receiver, number 4 from Aftershock. Y'all, I am loving this Lonely Receiver book. It is cerebral, it is surreal, it is out there, it is bold, it takes chances, it's telling us an honest story about relationships, an honest story about attraction, an honest story about rejection, an honest story about everything that it's attempting to address here, including our relationship, not with just our significant others at times, but technology, and how that relationship to technology is almost overtaken, and it's almost the same as a romantic relationship. And with all of the jealousy and bitter rage that's tied into it, I love this book. High concept, sci-fi, cerebral and surreal. Like I said, Zach Thompson's doing an amazing job with this story. Jen Hickman's doing absolutely fantastic with their artwork. It is just beautiful to watch. It is a challenging read, but I love books that challenge me, that make me think, that make me even feel, and Lonely Receiver has been one of those books. It's one of the best books of the year. At number 3, Mountainhead, number 5 from IDW. So here we have it, the long-awaited conclusion to Mountainhead. Written by John Lees with artwork by Ryan Lee. Coloring by Doug Garbark and Sean Lee on the lettering. Mountainhead has been something I have absolutely adored since I got an early peek at the first issue. It is telling a great story that's a little bit about madness, a lot about family, and it's about everything in between. The artwork by Ryan Lee is expressively animated, but at the same time very gritty and real. It's got a lot of texture to it and a lot of edge to it, and I really think that it really accentuates the mood and atmosphere of the book. John Lees is crafting a great story about a kid who's been pulled away from one family but gone to another family. He's kind of in this place in between. You got this mountain, people go up to the mountain, they come down, they get crazy, they go a little mad, and then all of a sudden this town goes mad with crazy body horror. This book took twists and turns that I was not expecting. It had a very satisfying ending that hit all the buttons that it needed to. It was an incredibly enjoyable experience, and if you missed out, have no fear. The trade paperback comes out in January, and I hear a little rumor that writer John Lees will actually be joining us to talk about that, and if that's true, that sounds really exciting. Anyway, Mountainhead number 5, number 3 on the list. And number 2, The Red Mother, number 11 from Boom Studios. I know I get accused of repeating myself sometimes, and it's true, I do. And sometimes, as in the case of The Red Mother, you have to repeat yourself. This book wastes nothing. Every line is precise. Every word of dialogue is resonating. Every single panel pops. Every color sizzles. And every letter lets you be able to read what the characters are saying. But it is also, the lettering is fantastic too. One of the reasons why I love the lettering, let's talk about it. There's a little bit of open space between the words and the outer edge of the word bubble, of the word balloon. And I think that's fascinating. I love when letterers do that because it, to me, makes it an easier read, and it's a different appropriate tone based on the size of the font to the size of the balloon, and lots of little things like that. I'm not a letterer, but this is just me reading into it. But The Red Mother is absolutely fantastic. This is issue number 11 of 12, so the penultimate issue, and everything is just out there now. This book has been a slow burn. It's had this slow build, but this build has just been bringing more and more tension and an unnervedness to the story. But it's also a story about characters. It's a story about trauma, but it's wrapped up in this other story that works so well with it thematically. I love The Red Mother. I'm so excited for the final issue. Obviously going to be sad to see it go, but very excited to see it reach its very apparently well thought out and developed and executed conclusion. The last issue comes out next month, but this issue, it really all starts happening, and it was wild and it was awesome. And at number 1, Homesick Pilots, number 1 from Image Comics. So take a couple ideas. Take the ideas of maybe, say, giant mech robots or kaiju, right? Giant things like that. Take the idea of a haunted house. Take the idea of a punk rock band trying to find their way and outdo another punk rock band, and then they decide that maybe they want to put on a show in like the most haunted house of their locale. And then what if, when they go to investigate said haunted house, what if a lot of craziness starts happening and maybe at some point the house gets up and starts walking around? I don't know. I'm just saying this book was awesome. Written by Dan Watters, one of the most accessible Dan Watters books out there. Nothing against Dan Watters. I love his work. His work is challenging. Like I said before about Lonely Receiver in particular, I love a book that challenges me, that makes me think. Books like Coffin Bound, books like Lucifer, books like Deep Roots. These are things that have a lot of rereadability. This is definitely a great entry level into Dan Watters' work as far as the first issue goes. It is absolutely amazingly well crafted. It's got a really cool concept. The characters are incredibly engaging and compelling. And then you have Casper Wingard joining him on the artwork. The artwork is beautiful. The color choices are striking. They're bold. They're dynamic. It literally leaps off the page. It's got a nice, clean finish to the line work. The lettering's done by Aditya Bidikar. Enough said. Tom Muller doing the design work. The design on this book is amazing. Those colors play a big part of that as well. All in all, this is just top-notch creators doing top-notch work. Homesick Pilots was absolutely fascinating, a fantastic first issue, and I think a lot of people are going to respond very positively to this book. So if you've always been itching to try some Dan Watters, but maybe found it maybe a bit too intimidating, Homesick Pilots is great. Not saying that Homesick Pilots is a simple story without its thematic relevance, because it is. But this was a really easily digestible first issue that sets up a lot of cool things for Watters, Wingard, and company to play with. Anyway, that's my top 10. That's what I thought. What are your top 10 comic books of the week? Or top 5, top 3? What's the best comic book you read? What's your pick of the week? Let us know in the comments down below. Let's keep this conversation going. Thank you so much for checking out the video. I am Rockin Robbie Billups. Please do like, share, subscribe, and join us over at popculturephilosophers.com for podcast blogs and a whole lot more. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading.